Hey everyone, it's Friday, December 13th. Let's talk PlayStation. Okay, probably gonna be a big episode this week. Obviously it looks quite weird right now because of, the lighting might look a little I'm down a studio light. My studio light broke. I usually use two. One there, one there. He ain't there anymore. And so that's why it looks weird the way it does. Ordered new lights. Those should be in soon. Before we get into the PlayStation news, I want to touch on the one subject that's been going crazy this past week regarding YouTube and copyright and the new content ID system and the changes that are going to be happening to YouTube. Because some people are asking, what's going to happen to this channel? Am I boned or what have you? I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about this because so many people made so many videos already regarding this issue. So if you have no idea what I'm talking about, just I don't know how you're living under a rock. If you use YouTube, you should be seeing this by now. YouTube's going to be making some changes in early 2014 on the creator side. So you upload a video, you have to let it sit a little bit to get approved for monetization, which is serving ads on videos. So that's going to be a new thing. But right now, currently, YouTube is rolling out their content ID system, and they're making, copyright strikes. Well, not copyright strikes, but claiming people's videos, so they're stopping earnings on these videos. So then people, I don't want to get into it because, like I said, people have already talked about this. You can look it up. But what's going to happen on this channel? For the most part, this channel is pretty much all right. So a lot of it is definitely video game footage. A lot of people are getting their videos claimed if they show a trailer on their channel for too long, or if they show an extended amount of video game footage for too long, like a Let's Play, things like that. I'm not entirely sure, how the system's striking it. Some videos are getting claimed and some videos aren't, that are obvious. They're very obviously Let's Plays or long thought out videos, and they're not getting claimed. I don't know. I'm not this algorithm that YouTube made to pick out these videos and then claim them, but it seems like those are the majority of videos that are being claimed. Again, I don't know. I'll tell you why my channel's safe. One being, let's talk PlayStation. This is me. This is my face. I own all rights to myself. So, let's talk PlayStation's completely safe. I don't really show gameplay during this ever. So, let's talk PlayStation safe. Reviews. Review videos are absolutely legally safe. I mean, if I run into any issues regarding them, I can contact the publisher or developer and say, hey, you have to take this strike off or this claim off because it's a review and it's definitely legally protected. Fair use is always a very rough thing to go into, what is considered fair use and what's not. But reviews are definitely 100% covered. So even if something does happen to one of my reviews, I can more than likely work it out. And Let's Plays, I do Let's Plays. That would definitely probably be an issue. I could absolutely get a claim from one of my Let's Plays any day now. And I honestly don't mind. I can turn off monetization for Let's Plays and nothing will happen. Or worst case scenario, I just don't upload a specific game to the channel where I just have to delete videos. It's not really that. That's the thing. If that's what happens, then that's what happens. I turn off monetization. I can't do Let's Plays for certain games. The thing about this whole scenario is, real quick, to end this off, is a lot of publishers and developers are actually supporting this. Ubisoft 100% supports video game content on YouTube, and they support people monetizing their content. Valve came out recently and said you can absolutely upload our stuff. You can, monetize it. Notch, the creator of Minecraft, he's all for it. So some video game companies don't like it. Naughty Dog actually does not like monetization of their content and sort of extended sessions, but a lot of developers and publishers do support the whole YouTube thing, monetizing thing. They do say, hey, if you're getting claims on your videos, contact us and we'll help you out. So it's a big scenario that I'm already spending too much time talking about because I didn't want to really touch on it because so many other people already are, and we're still kind of talking about it. But anyway, this channel should be relatively safe and unchanged. Like I said, if you already know what's going on, then everything that I just said has some really good context. But if you don't know what's going on, then just Google it, because that's basically what you can do. You can Google that. Okay, going into PlayStation news, because that's really what's important. That's why you watch every Friday. The VGX happened. We're going to start off with that, a VGX recap. So last week, the VGX Awards happened. Used to be formerly the VGA Awards, Video Game Awards. Very different this time around this year. Geoff Keighley wanted to take the show in a different approach. He wanted to make it more about the developers. He wanted to, make it less of a huge, crazy show with blasting fire and 13,000 celebrities that don't care about video games are on stage. That wasn't this year. With that said, this year it still pretty much kind of sucked. It was a very odd air. There was no audience. It was just Geoff Keighley and then Joel McHale, who's a celebrity that didn't need to be there. Some people liked his performance because he made the situation awkward because he's not a gamer and he asked questions that you really, most journalists wouldn't ask. I can see that side of the situation. I just thought the show was still pretty awful. But I like the direction Geoff Keighley was taking the show, making it more about the developers, these extended talks and all that. But enough about my opinions regarding the show, because I still think it was, again, pretty much awful, but I do like the direction they're going in. I'm going to go over the PlayStation-related announcements, because there was, Xbox stuff, Nintendo stuff. Here's the PlayStation stuff that happened. I'm going to read off a list, because, quite frankly, I need it. Tales from the Borderlands announced from Telltale Games, The Walking Dead. Very interesting idea there. Nobody saw that coming, by the way. Tomb Raider, the Definitive Edition, was announced, so this is Tomb Raider... Same game that we played, over 10 months ago now? Just redone on PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One. They really did remake the game from the ground up. Now, we actually knew about this a couple weeks ago. The game was already posted on Amazon France, I believe, and it was pretty much confirmed then. It was also announced that the Game of Thrones game is being made by Telltale Games. Again, they're taking on a new project. Interesting that those guys are taking on so many projects. No Man's Sky by Hello Games was announced. This is a completely new game. The Hello Games developer made Joe Danger. Hello Games made Joe Danger, and now this is their new game, No Man's Sky. Very interesting, very ambitious looking game. Actually. This is a very small team working on a very crazy idea. So basically what it is you can fly spacecrafts and stuff, but it's a continuously developing world, so you can start on one planet and literally just fly to the next, and the world just constantly develops. And apparently it's an MMO, but very cool, very interesting idea. My interest is piqued. And then they showed just a bunch of new trailers for games we already know about, like South Park, Destiny, Dying Light, The Division, Witcher 3. Actually, for The Division, they showed off a really cool sort of tech demo of the engine that they're using with the Division, which just kind of shows the particle effects and the weather movements, or the constantly changing weather, all that interesting stuff. You can go check that out as well. All the links in the bottom, by the way, for all the sources. And that, in a nutshell, is what the VGX Awards were this year. Some few game announcements, mostly from Telltale, and trailers for games we already know about, which is, fine. It wasn't necessarily a fantastic, incredible show by any stretch of the imagination. Like I said, it was pretty terrible to actually watch. I just was not a fan of it. I like the direction he's going in, but there's a lot of things he's got to sort out, Geoff Keighley. Okay, moving on from that, we got some firmware stuff going on, because who doesn't love downloading firmware updates? I love it. I pretty much thrive off it. PS Vita got a new firmware update 3.01, and PS4 got a firmware update 1.52, and let me tell you, both these firmwares, software stability, so my gosh, it's more stable than ever. And that's just about it. As far as I know, there's no secret tidbits in there, because sometimes Sony does do that, but hey, 2 new firmware updates. You've probably already downloaded them if you have both these systems, and you're more stable. So here's some updates on some games that we know are coming, but now we know that they're somewhat sooner than before. The God of War Collection was rated by the ESRB for the PS Vita. This was actually announced a long time ago, and we really haven't heard much about it. So now we know that it's probably very close to release. So that's good news. I'm totally down. Love God of War. Huge fan of the game, so I'll definitely be looking forward to playing it on the PS Vita. Hopefully the frame rate's good. I like that Jack collection. And Minecraft, what's going on with that? Well, we got some updates for all 3 platforms. The PS3 version, they're bug testing it right now. It's getting very close is what they're saying, so that should be out soon, but they're just crunching it down, trying to, squash the bugs, and it sounds like it's very close to being done. PS4 version, they're saying it's running, but it's still a little bit far off. And the PS Vita version, the update for this is actually quite old. They didn't touch on this recently, but a few months ago we figured out that it is not the Pocket Edition. It is like the console version. But I've never thought it was the Pocket Edition, but some people were worried about that. It's not the Pocket Edition. So that's good. So here's a little update on the console war. PS4 is, of course, now out. We've been talking about that for a while. We have the system. We're playing it. We're enjoying it. PlayStation 4 pretty much confirmed to be the biggest console launch of all time. Did great, man. 2.1 million. We talked about it last week with sales and how it might do in the long term. But, initial sales, very, very good. Fantastic. The system's pretty much confirmed to be the biggest launch ever, which is great. So if you want the current numbers right now, as from what it stands up to current up-to-date NPD, PS4 is sitting at 2.6 million, and the X1 sitting at 2.1 or 2.2 million. They're doing pretty good. Microsoft announced 2 million systems. That's great. But that's what it stands at right now. And then Wii U's at like 4.5 million, I think. They're in the 4 millions. I just don't know what point, whatever. But hey, great, healthy stuff going on, man. I love how it's just, so there's a good attach rate for PS4. People are buying lots of PS4 games with their PS4. Software sales are up year to date. Hardware sales are up year to date. So good stuff. Now here's a news story I don't think we've ever talked about on Let's Talk PlayStation, but Until Dawn has been canceled. Now Until Dawn is a PlayStation 3 exclusive. It was going to be a PlayStation Move title, and it was a kind of horror game. So you use the Move to a bunch of kids in this cabin, I think, for a party or something. Or it was your friend's anniversary's death, and you go to a party or something, and then some killers come into a cabin. I didn't read the synopsis before going into this, but that was basically the premise of the game. That project is now canceled. Amazon has sent an email to all the people. Allegedly, Amazon has emailed all the people who pre-ordered the game saying that the project's pretty much canceled. Now, what's really interesting about this is the developer Supermassive Games actually, like 1 or 2 months ago, confirmed that they were in fact still working on the game, because we haven't heard a whole lot about it since then. And now, apparently, allegedly, Amazon's saying that the project's now canceled. And I think this segues nicely into our next news story, which is that Sony patented a new PlayStation Move controller. Now, the patent was filed back in 2012, but it was recently published now, so now we can actually see it. And you see it right next to me, and looks quite similar to something that we see on the I'm going to grab it for reference, DualShock 4. It's got a sort of touch thing right on the the controller, right? The touchpad sort of a feature that's only available on the DualShock 4. So it would absolutely make sense that in the development process of PlayStation 4 that you update PlayStation Move, give it a little touchpad, and because Sony's been very vocal about PlayStation Move support. In fact, it got it was shown for how long on the PS4 announcement back at February 20th at the New York City PS4 announcement event. Media Molecule came up and they're like, hey, we're playing with PlayStation Move, and they have a PS4 title being made. We just don't know what it is. I think Sony patent stuff all the time. We see a lot of stories like this, like they make a patent for this, they make a patent for that, and more than 70% of the time we never see these gosh darn things. But some of these things do happen, and some of these things do make sense because Sony actually did make PlayStation Move. They actually brought this thing to market, and I still am still shocked that they did. I remember the E3 where they finally unveiled it, and I was just watching it, and I was just like, oh my god, what are you doing? But criticism aside, is this what Sony's going to be doing? Now, it's absolutely possible, and I think it's interesting from the Until Dawn thing. They say they're working on it, then they cancel it, not even a month later? Again, assuming that it actually is an official cancel from what Amazon's saying. New controller possibly being made. Like, could this title have been moved to PlayStation 4 with better inputs on the controller? Like, if you're going to do a new PlayStation Move controller, you need software to back it up, right? So you can't just release a new PlayStation Move controller and say, hey, buy this for the games that don't exist. So it would absolutely make sense that you take Until Dawn, put it on PS4, give it new input, give it a reason for people to buy the controller. Like, all works out. Now this is of course I'm really preaching here in terms of the idea, but it's certainly a possibility. I think I built the timeline pretty good there. It could happen, it absolutely could. It would, I could totally see Sony doing something like this. And again, they need software to back up a new peripheral if that were the case. And as you can obviously tell from not even a few seconds ago how I sort of feel about PlayStation Move. They sold a bunch of them. I'm sure they sort of saw a return on it, so they made profit off of it. And as a business, if you make profit on a product, then you've certainly made it a success, regardless of whether your consumers and fans thought it was a success. But if they made money, then I guess good for Sony. But my general opinion on Move is they just could have put that money somewhere else. But while we're on the topic of patents, Sony filed another patent that is adding more evidence to this rumor that Sony is indeed working on a virtual reality headset for the PlayStation 4. So this patent is very, very new, and it's got another picture to go along with it, and it's got new sort of, text to explain what the headset could possibly do, or what Sony's at least trying to patent in regards to the technology. And very interesting, crazy stuff put in this patent. The kind of stuff where I don't think we'll ever possibly see this. I mean, at this rate, I think there's more than enough evidence there to definitely tell us that Sony is in fact working on a virtual reality headset. There was just way too much evidence. People saying that they were going to show it at Gamescom, but they had to pull it back. The people that filed some of these patents worked at Evolution Studios, and Evolution Studios behind Drive Club, and that there's rumors saying that they're testing this virtual reality headset with Drive Club, and this patent again, and there was another patent. Like, I absolutely believe that Sony's probably working on this device, and they are trying to get this thing ready by 2014, because that is what all these rumors are suggesting. But I think it's one of these patents where it's regarding the device in general, but you got to listen to what this thing is supposed to do. So there's like, okay, you got the head-mounted display, and the patents describing how there'd be a camera inside the display that's looking at your face, and it's tracking your pupils and where they're moving, and it's tracking when you blink, and it's tracking your facial expressions and the blood pressure in your body, and crazy stuff. And then the PlayStation camera could it could detect where you are in the room and then send that to the display and replace objects in the real world with virtual objects. So even though you've got the display on, you can still see things in your view, but they're just replaced with a different item. Like, I don't know, man. Like, this technology can absolutely be made, but if you're going to sell that to a consumer, you better hope that your consumers are the 0.1%, because those are the only amount of people that would afford it. I mean, not to go crazy on this thing, because of course it's a patent, and the whole thing about patents is you want to be general, you want to be a little bit, I don't want to say vague, but certainly keep all areas open and of possibility of where you want to, take this product. So of course they're going to name and list off like a billion things that this thing can do, and it's probably not going to do it when it actually comes to market. If it actually does, which I do think that they're working on this. They've got to have some kind of shtick. They've got to have something to really keep the PlayStation 4 alive and healthy over its life cycle. And of course, great software is part of that. TV services are a part of that. A lot of things that make it look like more like a multimedia box is a part of that. We were talking about that last week, right? But you need really compelling stuff, like that's the reason why the Wii did so incredibly well in the first 3 years of its life, and how you could never find one on store shelves even a year into its life cycle. It's because it had a shtick, man. It just, it had the motion controls, and it was an inferior box to the PlayStation 3 and 360. But it had that thing, man. It had something that told consumers, like, this is something really cool that you got to jump into. And that was the thing. You bought a Wii, and it was actually really cool. It was really fun. You play Wii Sports, you're like, wow, I've never done this before. Now, granted, we're done with that now, and we aren't particularly fond of motion controls, but it sold units, and it sold a lot of units, right? And it was a phenomenon. There's a lot of people in the game industry that'll tell you virtual reality is that next step, or some people will tell you it's 4K, but whatever that may be, Sony as a company needs to pick one and bank on it, and it certainly looks like they might be taking the virtual reality route. If that's the right move for them, I don't know. We'll have to just wait and see, man. PlayStation 4, man, we've only had it for what? Not even a little over a month, and this thing we're gonna have a long console generation, man. Not in terms of years, maybe, but just like the crazy stuff that's gonna happen. It's gonna be a good one. Alright, everybody, that concludes this week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation. Hey, my review for Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus is out. Go give that a watch if you are interested in that game. It's really good. I'm gonna try and get my Tearaway and Knack review out soon, because I still haven't reviewed them yet. Well, Tearaway is still relatively new, but and I don't want to say much because I can't promise anything particularly, because I've been really busy going into like Christmas, and I'm trying to buy gifts for everybody, so I'm working more hours at my job. But I want to get a new series going, and it's an on-camera series, so it's more of me talking if you actually wanted to watch more of that, which is beyond me. But I want to try and do more on-camera videos that aren't just these Friday Let's Talk PlayStations. It would be, of course, game-related. We talk about the industry and stuff. Things like that. I'm going to try and get that up soon at some point, next couple of weeks. I don't know, man. Thank you all for watching, though. Thank you all for watching this channel. I'm Ryan Panecki. Thank you so much for talking with me. I'll see all of you next Friday.